Assalamu alaikum. Apologize about the live stream crashing. The question was, what do you do when you rent from a landlord who's paying a mortgage? And most places, if not all, for sure most, you go in the West, it's a mortgage. What do you do? This is a problem. There's no doubt about that. And this is one of the difficulties or the arguments used. And I'm not saying that riba, usury, I'm not saying I'm not saying it's halal, I'm not saying none of that. But the question is posed. This is one of the proofs of those who say, or not even say absolutely, but those who give some type of detail. Please listen to my words carefully, and no one misunderstand what I'm saying. Those who say that there's some type of detail with regards to the mortgage thing, and it's not as black and white as others try to make it seem. Okay? They say that you rent a house for 30 years, for 40 years, you work like a dog, work like a slave, you get old after all of those years of renting that place, and you have nothing. We're talking about just renting. You have nothing. Your children may honor you, take care of you when your back is too old to get up in the morning, your knees hurt, your cartilage, whatever, the arthritis is hurting you. Or your children may forget about you. You may be able to work when you're 65, or you may not be able to. Allahu alam, al-muhim, you've rented this place for 40 years, and you have nothing that you own. What happens after those 40 years of working? The prices, inflation, gentrification, etc. And for those 40 years you were renting, you were also paying mortgage, but just for somebody else. Brother Akbar, right? Or Uncle Faz. Who? Uncle Faz, subhanAllah. Hopefully not Uncle Faz. Uncle Khan, right? You were paying his mortgage for 40 years, right? And you have nothing. Versus you were renting with the intention to buy, paying a mortgage, whatever, for how many years? 25, 30? And at the end of those years, now you own the house. And you were paying it yourself. You can't work, can't find a place. Prices are through the roof. It's harder to get a job, more gentrification, there's dog parks, dogs walking around in the middle of Bed-Stuy. Its property is sky high. For a piece of nothing property is now what? $1 million easily. And you're stuck. Versus you owning it, renting it out, getting a smaller place, moving to a different place, etc. This is the argument that they bring up. And those people who discuss the issue, they say, you what? You make the choice. Rent for 30 years with nothing, rent for 40 years with nothing, while you pay someone else's mortgage that you know. It's not a hidden secret, right? No. Or you pay the mortgage for some years and what? You own it and it's done, over. Allahul Musta'an, yani. Allahul Musta'an. What's important is that there have been many lectures and books and all types of forums and fatwas given on this in Arabic and in English with regards to, is owning a home in the United States a necessity? Is it a necessity? Is it a hajat, darura, or is it just a virtue? Is it permissible to pay mortgage in 2019, or is that riba that Allah and His Messenger have made unlawful? And the riba that Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. A state of war now exists between you and Allah and His Messenger. وَإِن تُبْتُمْ, and if you repent, meaning making riba is a means of sin that requires tawbah. So you have people who say that it's haram to have a mortgage under any circumstance or under all circumstances unless it's absolute necessity. And then there are those who say that there's details. Some may say, I'm not saying this, no one quote me. Some may say that that's not the riba that Allah and His Messenger made haram. Some may say that the riba that's haram in the Quran and Sunnah is usury and not interest, in which is a back-breaking fee and sum that the people don't accept, and it just totally makes the poor over and over again, and they have nothing. Allahu alam. And then there are those, I have no opinion. I'm with Allah and His Messenger. Inshallah, I have no opinion on this. All right, Hamza?
What would you do in that situation, Sheikh?
I would keep renting from what? Uncle Khan. Or the roof is leaking over my head, right? I have to debate with my children, is that a water bug or a cockroach? Which one is it? Right? It's the reality. I mean, many Muslims, unfortunately, they don't look after their property. Many Muslim landlords, they what? They don't look after their property. And anyone who's ever rented, they know that oftentimes one of the worst landlords to have is a what? Unfortunately. Waliyadhu billah. Not all Muslims, but what? Many. That's the reality. Or they'll argue with you. Or when it comes to an issue of rent, they'll bring up the religion. I'm raising the rent. Well, you know, brother, I'm your brother. What happened to business? When I owe you something, it's what?
Business.
But when you owe me something, it's what? Brother. This is a problem. Okay? So, my humble opinion, and Allah knows best, is that these issues need to be discussed and they need to be dealt with full transparency. And realistic solutions need to be made about the crisis of renting versus owning versus buying versus mortgage in the West. It's a crisis and it needs to be scholastically what? Tackled realistically. And the fatwa and the solution, in my humble opinion, it cannot just be something which is totally theoretical. Something which is just mystical. Something that's just whimsical. It's just in the air, floating. Do this, do that, put your trust in Allah, and then that's it. That's not the ruling. The ruling has to be what? Pragmatic. It has to be tangible. In which you have a way out. Okay? So the concept of Islamic banking, if that's a such thing, Islamic banks, if that's a such thing, la riba systems, in which they buy the house for you, and then they sell it to you on installments with a higher price, a taqseet. And the ulama of Islam, they differ on that. Is that considered riba, or is that a solution? It's a very long discussion. What's important is try your best to avoid riba. Try your best to avoid usury and interest. Try your best to avoid these things and ask Allah for protection. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, whoever wants good will find it. Whoever wants good will find it. Necessity, it has its rulings. Hardship and difficulty, they have their what? They have their rulings. That's all I'll say in that situation. Wallahu alam.
Initials JA, Philadelphia, PA. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. While studying the 40 Hadith of Imam al-Nawawi, I noticed that when I look at different versions such as Dar Salam, continue a website or downloading an app, they all have either different diacritical marks or is missing a word and replacing it with a different word. I am studying the Arabic version, trying to memorize them. In your opinion, which source is more trustworthy?
Question with regards to the 40 Hadith of Nawawi and the discrepancies of the different versions of the book. The vowels, it mentions the different marks, etc. Different wordings. What's the most reliable one? There are different versions of the book and there are different versions of Hadith. And Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he takes the Hadiths from the original sources in different ways. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَىٰ. Do you think that is actually what it says in Sahih Bukhari? Or it is a different version? Different versions. A hadith can be narrated in different way. Bil ma'na. There's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing what? It's nothing wrong with that. Allah Azza wa the many of the Salaf and the Sahaba, they said the proof that it's permissible to narrate hadith not in word for word is that Allah Azza wa Jal tells us the stories of the previous nations, the previous prophets and messengers. And that story comes to us in what language? Arabic. And for sure, those people didn't speak Arabic. So the concept of narrating the story and the meaning, getting the gist of it, as long as you don't change the meaning, all right? So try your best. Whatever version you deal with, inshallah, is khair. Me personally, I haven't seen but so many discrepancies in the different versions of 40 Hadith. Me personally. Maybe a few small things, but I haven't seen a huge, gigantic difference in all of the different versions that I've come across, which are many. Okay? Wallahu alam.
Anwar Ali, London, UK. Assalamu alaikum. How to approach Muslims that believe the Quran and the Sunnah pushes colorism while they won't spell it out in that way. Allah Yahfaz.
Questions from London with regards to how do we talk to Muslims who believe that the Quran and the Sunnah pushes colorism? How do we talk to them, so on and so forth? The Quran clearly affirms that from Allah's ayat is the differences in our alwan, our colors. So let's embrace it. We have different tongues, the Quran says, and we have different colors. Let's embrace it. You look a certain way, he looks a certain way, and I look a certain way. Alhamdulillah. There's nothing wrong with it. There are people who have pale skin, there are people who have black skin, there are people who have brown skin, people who have yellow skin, people who have red skin. Allah made all of us. He created all of us. Yusawwirukum. He forms us and fashions us. Thumma sawwarnakum. There's nothing wrong with that. So we have different colors. If you have a preference for a color, there's nothing wrong with that. Self-hatred is a different story. Not liking yourself is a different story. Colorism that comes from colonizers is a different story. The British is a different story. Fair and Lovely cream is a different what? Different story. $1 million business. And in other parts of the world, bleaching soap in Jamaica, Allahumma musta'an, yani. If you find someone beautiful that looks a certain way, alhamdulillah. You find someone attractive, alhamdulillah, but hating yourself and hating how Allah made you is a serious problem. It's a serious problem, all right? So we have to understand that this is a sign of Allah, our diversity. We should embrace it. But I'm better than you because I'm black, or you're Pakistani, that, no, slow down. I'm better than you because I'm Arab. Are you even an Arab? What is an Arab? Who's an Arab? Especially in 2019. Years ago, let alone now. Who, are you Arab because you come from a country? Everyone understand this? So all of the nonsense of Jahiliyyah? No. But the concept of our diversity and accepting it, he's from Yemen, he's from Guyana, I'm from West Philly. Alhamdulillah, there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone understand this? And that's not the teaching of the Quran and the Sunnah. The teaching of the Quran and Sunnah, inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. That's it. The best of you to Allah are those who have the most taqwa. And we have many hadiths in which the Prophet ﷺ spoke against these things. All right? That woman who swept the masjid, and the narration says that she was a black woman. In most cases, she was either a slave or a manumitted slave. Someone that was looked down upon by the Arabs for her lineage, her background, and or her skin complexion. All right? The Prophet ﷺ was mad at the companions. Why didn't you tell me that she died? Why didn't you tell me that she died? And the companions, the hadith says, كَأَنَّهُمْ صَغَرُوا أَمْرَهَا, as if they didn't look like a serious issue. And he says, دُلُونِي عَلَى قَبْرِهَا, show me where she died. And he went and he made the salah upon her. So the concept of color over content, form over content, that's not the teachings of the what? The Quran and the Sunnah, abadan. Wallahu alam. Khair, inshallah, we'll stop here.
She's directly in the paradise now.
Allahu Akbar. May Allah bless them all. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. Ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad.